Welcome back to the next video where we are going to continue constructing our parametric brick wall. Now I've opened up the next stage of the routine, which I've called brick wall simple routine stage 2. Now I'm going to work through it. The routine that you'll have will be at the end point, but you can follow the steps to get to that end point through this next series of videos. Now ostensibly what we have at the moment is a simple single course brick wall along a curved rail. Now clearly what we need to do is to add more courses to this brick wall. So in order to do that, what we can do is to duplicate the parametric definition of that wall. Now to make it a bit clearer, I'm just going to turn off the blocks here. Now what we can do is that we can move the set out rail and the parameters up the height of a brick. Now as we know from the set out of the bricks along the horizontal, we do need to add in the thickness of the mortar. So let's start by adding a new number slider, and we're going to do the horizontal mortar thickness. And we'll do a maximum range of 20 millimeters in this instance. So in the same way that we added the two, the brick length and the mortar to give us the length this way, we're going to do that the same vertically. So we'll add another multiplication, and we'll add the horizontal mortar with the height of the brick, and we'll dial up this mortar to a reasonable size. So you can see here, if we open up just a panel to see what we're doing, we're getting an 86 millimeter course to course dimension, which is approximately what we want. Now we want to move or copy this set out rail. Now to do that, we can jump into the transform menu, and if we look here, we've got a move function here. And again, if we just did it simply through the interpretive thing on the key in, we can also find move there as well. Okay, so what move is asking us for is a base geometry, which in this case is the curve, and a translational vector or distance that it wants to move. So we'll dial in the curve for the geometry, and we'll dial in the distance. Now if we look here, it's given us an error message and it's gone red. So if we see here, it says data conversion failed from number to vector. Now looking at that on one level is going, well, what does that actually mean? But in fact we do have to keep remembering that Grasshopper is ostensibly a pretty dumb bit of software on one level, because we're telling it to move a dimension, but we're not telling it in which direction to move it into. So because we want to move this vertically, we are moving this in the z-axis direction. So we need to tell it that it's moving in the z-axis. So if we go back to vector, we can actually then put in a z-unit vector, so that we can say the dimension, which is 86 millimeters, dial it in to here, add it into there, and then we can see that the box has not gone red anymore. It's gone back to a normal color, because it knows how far to move it, and it knows in what direction, and it knows what it's moving. And you can see the result here. So that's the duplication of the rail. Now we've seen that actually it's just duplicated the rail. It hasn't actually done anything more than that. So perhaps what we can do is just think, well, we want to actually move all of the planes to that new rail there as well. So we've got the geometry here, we can follow it to the geometry there. There's a geometry that's the translated geometry, we can bring it out and plug it in there. Now what's happened is that we see then everything downstream now, which is the setting up of the division of that rail and the setting up of the planes, is relating to the new geometry, which is this rail that we've copied and moved up. But it's only partially useful to us, because what it's done is that it's only repeated the rail but just at a higher level. It hasn't actually given us two rails, so to speak. So, you know, we could perhaps dial in two lots of the set out rail, and then you can see here what's happened is that the connectors through here have changed again, because there's now a more complicated data set that's feeding into this divide length and the plane. So that's all well and good, but we've moved it once. Now there's one way we can do it, and we can just keep moving the rail and keep adding into the divide length, but that would be a little bit cumbersome and not very parametric, because what we want to be able to do is to perhaps introduce a parameter that says how many brick courses we want. So although this move has got us out of the woods to get the next layer of bricks on there, it's actually not going to get us much further than that. So what we want to do is actually not just simply move the rail and copy it up one. What we want to do is create a series of rails moving up, and I'll talk a bit about that in the next video.